Good afternoon, everyone, again from Toronto. My name is Ayman, and I'm the head of Global Compact Network Canada. Today, we are here to give you a brief highlight about how exactly your organization can start preparing for the annual reporting requirement with UN Global Compact, and what are the different suggestions we have, how best you can start your preparation. And also at the same time, after we are done with the presentation, if you have any questions related to your COP preparation or submissions, we can always try to respond to that one. If you have any questions, please write it down in the questions tab here in the Zoom session. At the end of the presentation, we'll look at the questions and we'll try to respond to as many as we can. And also, if you'd like to speak at the end of the session, please raise your hand. We will see if we can accommodate some time to also hear from you about your particular concern, but we would encourage that you please write down your question. In that way, we can tackle more if we have any during after the end of the session. Okay. So we will be discussing the communication on progress and communication on engagement. I'm hoping that most of the attendees here on the webinar today are very familiar with these two terms. So communication on progress is applicable to the business entities. So any business organizations who have committed to the UN Global Compact 10 principles, they are required to submit a communication progress annually, which in short we call COP. And today we'll be discussing or we'll be sharing how exactly or what are the different requirements we have for the organizations during submitting a COP. And communication on engagement applies to the non-businesses. So any organizations that's not a business, a company or SME, they're required to submit a communication on engagement, and that is required to submit every 2 years. The basic difference for the communication on progress, it's for, as I've mentioned, is for the business entities. In that COP document, your business is required to communicate the progress or that your organization has made to the commitment on the 10 sustainability principles. So what has your organization done on human rights, anti-corruption, labor, and environment? And at the same time, how your organization is also contributing towards the Sustainable Development Goal, SDGs, that has been added since the launch of the SDGs in 2015. And in terms of the communication on engagement, the non-businesses are required to report back on how they are supporting the business units or the business entities to fulfill their commitment to the UN Global Compact principles, like fulfilling their commitment to sustainability, fulfilling their commitment to the SDGs. So for the communication on engagement, the language is more towards how this organization is playing a support role. And for the COP, it's more about how your organization is actively contributing towards those different principles. So for communication, these COPs are a vital reporting requirements. So any organizations who commits to UN Global Compact and who is a member of UN Global Compact as a participant or a signatory, as I've mentioned, they're required to submit this communication progress. Then the reason is the different stakeholders, all the COPs that are submitted to UN Global Compact, these are public document, and this kind of communicates what is the sustainability commitment your organization is showing. And when your organization is saying that, okay, we have committed to the 10 principles, what exactly or how exactly does that translate when you're reporting back on those different themes like human rights, anti-corruption, labor, and environment. So stakeholders, shareholders, investors, they all look at these different reports, and when they see that, okay, this organization has committed to the principles, they are also very eager to know how exactly that commitment translates. So it is a very vital piece of document for your engagement with UN Global Compact. And we are here, Global Compact Network Canada, we are here to support all the Canadian organizations who are with UN Global Compact to help them in this whole process. Because it's a very generic format, so what we try to do is, like, every year we try to organize at least one annual webinar where we explain the process. But at the same time, every organization may have some unique experiences as well while you're submitting your COP, and you can always reach out to our organization to see if we have a solution around your particular challenge. But the process that we'll be explaining in this call today should explain everything very clearly. And if you follow the steps one by one, it should be pretty easy for your organization to submit a COP or a COE. And the overall format for a COP and a COE is pretty flexible, and it can be prepared in any language. For Canada, we usually use English, but if you prefer to submit in French, you can certainly do that. And categorized into 3 differentiation level based on the information that you provide. And all this different level I'll be explaining just in a bit. Before we move into the next part, I just wanted to quickly make a recommendation that sometimes we see that your organization is completely or solely focused on preparing the sustainability report, and then organizations finds this COP as an additional reporting requirement. But what we suggest that it is important, or it is recommended that your organization look at the COP requirement first, so that you can already include the different asks from this, either from advanced level COP or a active level COP, like what UN Global Compact is asking you to report, so that when you're preparing your annual sustainability report or any kind of annual report where you're highlighting these different activities, you can already plug in that information, so that you do not have to duplicate or you do not have to put additional effort to create another COP. It's only when you're submitting a COP, you can always refer to the sustainability report that you have created, where you are already including the different requirements. So in that way, you can save time for your organization, and also it's not going to be a duplicate step or process. Just wanted to make that quick recommendation, and we're going to go through those different requirements very quickly now. So there are 3 minimum requirements that your organization must fulfill while submitting a COP or a COE. So the first is, when joining UN Global Compact, definitely we had a CEO commitment letter, but that commitment letter must be assured every year while submitting a COP that we are still committed to these principles, we are still committed to the SDGs, and this is how we are making a progress. So your COP must be supported by a commitment letter or a kind of support letter from your chief executive officer or the head of the organization. And then the second requirement is that your organization must also explain or mention about all the different practical actions the organization is taking on the different 10 principles, which are kind of around the 4 thematic areas of human rights, anti-corruption, labor, and environment. And also there is another section that has been added after 2015 that your organization is also required to make a commitment or communicate like how your organization is prioritizing the different SDGs and what has been the action items around those SDGs. And finally, the third requirement is that it's not only enough to highlight like we are committed to the human rights principles, but we'd like to see like how exactly you are putting some information so that we can measure your outcomes. Whatever you're saying that your organization is doing by those different activities, if you can also highlight some outcomes, that's always expected, and that's where we can actually see. And the outcomes could be qualitative, could be quantitative, but we want to see that, okay, there's something that is out there, the information has been provided, so that we can measure that whatever information has been provided, we can verify that information. So these 3 are the mandatory requirements that you need to keep into consideration while submitting a COP and a COE or a COE. So there are 3 different levels when we talk about like the COP submissions. I'm going to talk more about the COP here, and we'll be referring more to COPs. COEs are exactly the same. It's the requirement is a little less for COEs because it's for the non-businesses and it's only to showcase your support. But if you understand the whole process around the COPs, it should be very clear, like the exact same steps and the process you need to follow for the COE submission as well. So when you're looking at a COP, there are 3 different levels. The first one and the most informative one in terms of the COP that we call is GC Advanced. So that's where we receive the maximum number of information or the most detailed information from any organization, like how exactly they're fulfilling their commitment to UN Global Compact and to the SDGs. The next one is the GC Active, where your organization is just meeting those 3 requirements, but there is no best practicing examples, or there is no kind of more explanation about like how exactly your organization is tackling those different initiatives. So we are actually not being able to collect any kind of best practicing example from those COPs. So those are kind of regarded as GC Active. And the third one is GC Learner, which is only applicable for the first year of your joining in Global Compact. So let's say for any reason, your organization is not being able to fulfill all those 3 requirements, like having a letter from the CEO or from the head of the organization, highlighting those commitment to the 10 principles and SDGs, and also measurable outcomes, you can still submit your COP in the first year, and you will be regarded as GC Learner, because we want to give this 1-year period to all organizations to get kind of understand all these different requirements, so that after submitting 1 year, next year, maybe they can submit like a more advanced report. So in case your organization is in a situation that you are not being able to fulfill the minimum requirement, we encourage that you still submit your COP, you still stay committed to UN Global Compact, and then next year, when that you're submitting your next COP, you can fulfill all those three requirements and maybe even approach GC advanced COP submission. And just to remind you again, GC Learner is only applicable for the first year of your joining UN Global Compact. And if you do not submit anything, let's say you're not meeting the requirement, you don't want to be a learner, then you will be regarded as a non-communicating member or non-communicating participant. So that's probably something that you won't be expecting, because there are some more consequences to that status. And I'll be explaining those in my future slides as well. But just wanted to highlight this opportunity, like in case that's kind of a challenge, GC Learner opportunity is always there. Okay, so now let's get into the process of how exactly you can submit a COP. And when all the organizations who are accepted to UN Global Compact, they have a UN Global Compact profile. You are given a password, you are given a dashboard where all the information about your organizations are uploaded. Who are the contact people, what are the different revenue brackets. So we kind of see a profile of your organization in that in that UNGC hub. So when you will be signing into your UN Global Compact profile, your organization's UN Global Compact profile, this is the first screen that you're going to see. Like you will see overview, getting started, contacts, logo request, COP, draft COP, action platforms, all those different things. So to submit a COP, the tab that you need to click is that COPs tab. And there you will see this green button that says new communication on progress. Once you click on that one, sorry, okay, this is the next screen that you will be seeing. It will be giving you like a step-by-step instruction here. So the first one, it says about following options to publish your COP. If you already know which are the COPs that you will be, the different 3 levels which applies to your organization, you can certainly select from here very quickly, and you can say we'll be submitting a GC Active or GC Advanced. But you can see like there are some other categories as well, some other options too. The first one, Express, this applies to very like micro organization who does not have any reporting requirement, who probably has only 1 or 2 other members. So just to keep their commitment with the UN Global Compact, you can use this Express COP option to just fulfilling your commitment that, okay, no, my organization is still working on these 10 principles and SDGs. This option is going to be deleted very soon. Unfortunately, this Express COP submission option will no longer be eligible for organizations, because that actually doesn't say us much about like how exactly your organization is fulfilling those different commitments and what's the kind of commitment level. So those are just 3 basic yes or no questions. So going forward, it's almost certain that this option will no longer be applicable, but at least until this year, you can still find this option. So for this year COP, if you're struggling or if you have a plan to submit it through Express COP submission, you can do it. The basic option is for those organizations who probably do not create a sustainability report. Many SMEs that we see, like they don't have a dedicated sustainability report. So if you click on this basic tab, you will be given like a template where you just, if you start filling out those information, you will see like how exactly you can create a COP on your own. So, and that COP you can use as your sustainability commitment report as well. So, and also sometimes we see that organizations actually do want to dedicate some more time around preparing the COP, and they don't want to tag the COP requirements with the sustainability report. They want to create a standalone COP report. So for them as well, if they go to basic, and they will be guided to the template there, and they can start filling out those information. And at the end of the process, they'll find like a standalone COP document that they can submit as their commitment on communication and progress on their activities. The GC Active, as you can see, it fulfills the 3 minimum requirements for the GC Active level. And in this reporting process, you're not actually aiming for quality, but it's more about like how exactly you're maintaining your commitment with UN Global Compact. And we see these organizations that, okay, they have the commitment, they're building the process internally, and eventually in a few years, they will start reporting on an advanced level. And if you want to take the maximum advantage of UN Global Compact engagement, at least even if you're not submitting your COP at the advanced level, you should at least start looking at the questionnaire, the self-questionnaire assessment form for the GCS advanced level, where we highlight so many different best practices that your organization can follow in order to fulfill your commitment to those different 4 areas: human rights, anti-corruption, labor, and environment. I'll be going through all those different processes in a bit, but just wanted to give you like an overall idea about what exactly these tabs are for and how you can use this different options to submit your COP. And the other two options, grace letter and cycle adjustment, I'll explain more when I go to the slide. Okay, so this is the basic COP. So if you click on the previous slide, like a previous option, basic, then this is the page that will be directed to. And here you can submit your basics. You can choose a different language you prefer to submit your COP. Let's say you want to submit in French. You will be the template that you'll be opening after clicking on submit a basic COP is going to be French. If you want to submit in English, please select the language, and all of these are available in different languages. So once you click on submit a basic COP here, let me actually show you what you're going to see. Let's say I click on basic here and you submit a basic COP. Just bear with me for a second. Okay, so this is what you're going to see once you click on that basic COP submission. So first you need to submit your general information, and then you need to mention what is the time period covered by your COP. Are you reporting, let's say now you're reporting for January 2020, January 1, 2020 to December 31st, 2020. That's your reporting on your previous year's sustainability commitment. So that's the kind of period you will be choosing here, or it can also be something different based on your annual reporting cycle. And then you're going to say like a statement of continued support by the chief executive officer. So you have to submit that later here. And next you have the templates here or the sections here. Let's say for human rights, you want to mention what exactly are the policy and the goals, how exactly you are implementing those policies, and what are the measurements and outcomes. So this is the template that you need to follow. And for human rights, out of the 10 principles, we have 2 principles there. Also, any work around women and gender equality, children's rights, indigenous people, persons with disabilities, human trafficking, those all fall under human rights. So it has very clear instruction what are the kind of sections or topics you can include while you are mentioning your assessments, policies, goals around those particular topic. So it's not only those 2 principles, but anything around this 4, 5 issues as well you can include here. Similarly, for labor, you have this four principles that are associated with labor theme, and then you have child labor, forced labor, migrant workers, all those different initiatives you can list here. Similarly, for environment, 3 principles and all these other topics that you can include in this section. And then anti-corruption, you can include all the sections here. And finally, once you're done submitting all of this, the next section you have to fill out is, so you are checking. So remember those 3 minimum requirements. You need to check, yes, I have submitted a CO letter. Yes, I have fulfilled my commitment to all these 4 areas. And yes, I have the measurement of outcomes. If you say no here, then your COP will be regarded as a learner COP. So it's not going to be like an active COP or an advanced COP. It's going to be regarded. And in the second year of your submission, you cannot actually select this one. If you select no here and still submit your COP, your organization will automatically be getting the non-communicating status, because that option is only applicable for the first year. And then the next question is, after creating your COP, how exactly you want to communicate this COP to your external stakeholders. All the COPs are published on the UN Global Compact website, so you can just select that one, or you can select a combination. You can also select your organization or your website, or any other organization or any other website where you publish your sustainability commitment. So it's all up to you, like how exactly you want to publish your COP, but you have to select at least one option from here. Automatic option is that regardless of whether you say yes or no, your COP, as soon as you submit it and it gets approved, it's going to be published on the UN Global Compact website, so you can always select that option. And once you're done with that, just click submit, and you will be submitting like one standalone COP to fulfill your commitment to UN Global Compact. So this is the process. Going back to the active COP submission. So if you want to submit and you know that, okay, you don't want to create any standalone document, rather you are more going to refer to the different, the sustainability report that you have created. And in that sustainability report, you have highlighted all those different activities around human rights, labor, anti-corruption, and environment, and SDGs. So you can straight away click on the GC Active. And if you click on the GC Active COP here, then again, let me show you a quick demo of what exactly you're going to see. So GC Active, and you're saying, I'm going to submit a GC Active COP here. Similarly to the basic COP, First, you need to mention, is it going to be like a standalone document? In that case, if you have already fulfilled all those different commitments, you can say that, okay, it's a standalone document, so you're just submitting that document that you have just created. And it could be any other document as well. Like maybe you're just creating like one Word document. You don't have to fill out that template. Maybe you can just create one document where you are explicitly highlighting what are the different activities your organization is taking. And maybe that's one document you can just attach here as a standalone document to communicate your progress. Similarly, again, mention the time period, and then does your COP contain the CEO letter? Yes. Then you kind of select yes to all these four. In these options as well, like if you, let's say, select no in one of the ones, it's going to still be regarded as a learning member, because you are required to have a commitment on all these four pillars. So in the next year, you have to select yes, we want to have your organization's progress around all these 4 years, just not on one or two. And does your COP include qualitative and quantitative information? Let's say you say yes. And then the next question is going to be, how does your organization share your COP with the stakeholders? Let's say you do with UN Global Compact. And these are the questions that has been added for SDGs, like since 2015, once the SDGs were launched. So this is where you are expected to share like which of the following sustainable development goals activities described in your COP address. So if you're, let's say, in your sustainability report, you're saying that, okay, my organization has prioritized this 4, 5, 6 SDGs, then those are the SDGs you're going to select here, because there are some good mention about those SDGs in your sustainability report. Let's say this is what we do. And then it's going to ask you, with respect to your company's action to advance the sustainable development goals, the COP describes which of the following. So it could be multiple, you can select multiple option if all of these applies to your organization. But one critical thing I wanted to highlight here, which is more applicable for the GC advanced level, but in this activity, wherever you see this I option, these are all regarded as best practice by the global community. So let's say where more companies prioritize with respect to one or more SDGs, this is regarded as a best practice. So whenever you see this I option, always try to achieve those, always try to check mark on those, even if you don't have the process, prioritize those so that next year when you're reporting, your organization is in a position so that you can select check mark on those if those are something that you find interesting as a best practicing example. Let's say this is where you select these two here. This is how your organization communicates. And then next you're gonna go to submit your COP and you're gonna attach the document. Let's say submit your COP, and then you have to choose the file. Let's say you want to refer to your 2020 sustainability report. So you're going to select your 2020 sustainability report and you're going to upload it. And then you're just going to do submit. And then you're done. Or you can also create a PDF file. However you feel like you can, like whatever kind of document you are feeling or you are planning to attach as a supporting document to communicate your progress, you have all the options here. And while this process, if you think that this is a very lengthy process, I cannot do it in one go, you always have the option to save draft. Let's say in the middle of the process, you're done with one section, you save draft, you come back and you then fulfill the other section. So all these different options and flexibility are there. Okay, next. We have the GC Advanced COP, which is the most beneficial to any organization's sustainability commitment. And this is where even if you're not prepared, your organization is not prepared to submit an advanced level COP, I would strongly recommend that you please look at the assessment questionnaire, because that kind of gives you a very good direction. What are the different things your organization can do in terms of strengthening your commitment around those 4 thematic areas? And where exactly you can get those? Let's say you don't have any plan to submit your COP, you just want to improve your understanding. So if you click on this GC Advanced tab, and if you click on this 21 GC Advanced Criteria PDF, it will take you to that PDF file where you will be seeing all those different assessment criteria. And that could be a very good learning process. And next year, when you're preparing your COP, you exactly know, if my organization is requiring me to submit a GC Advanced level, these are the different criteria I probably need to consider and submit when I'm submitting the COP. And you can also use some of these criteria also to prepare your GC Active. Maybe not everything applies to your organization, but few of those apply. So try to take inspiration from this advanced criteria and start updating or improving your GC Active COP. And maybe at one day you will be in a position to submit a GC Advanced COP straight away. For most of the large organizations, we do see them submitting GC Advanced more and more these days, because there is like more like a stronger requirement from the investment community for transparency, and the highest level of transparent information you can provide through your commitment to UN Global Compact is through GC Advance. So that's the kind of trend we are seeing, that where we are seeing more and more organizations have started submitting their COPs using the advanced format. And just to give you a demo here very quickly. So this is the GC Advanced COP self-assessment. If you click on that PDF file, this is what you're going to see. The primary questions are pretty much same as the GC Active one. What I wanted to critically highlight here, one question is going to ask, because GC Advanced, you're kind of strengthening, or you're providing more detailed information. So it's going to ask you like, has your COP been assessed by any third party? Let's say you have prepared a assessment report that has been assessed by a third party. So you can say that, okay, whatever applies to your organization. And then the COP incorporates following high standards of transparency and disclosure, whatever applies to your reporting requirement, you can do that. It's going to ask the same SDGs questions. This is the interesting part. Let's say, with respect to your company's action to advance sustainable development goals, the COP describes. Remember, you had this question in GC Active level as well when you're submitting your COP. At that time, if you want to find examples, like what exactly, okay, I have this option here, opportunities and responsibilities that one or more SDGs represent to our business. What exactly does it mean? Like, how does it translate to business language? So we have provided an example here as well, like what are the kind of information we are expecting when you are saying that, okay, when you're checking or checking that box. So these are the kind of information, the information that you're seeing on the example. These are the kind of information we are expecting to see in the sustainability report that you're referring to, or maybe the standalone report that you're preparing. So just to have a better understanding what exactly your organizations can do, please do take a look at these different examples and see what are the areas you can advance. And then this summary of criteria. So these are the 21 criteria that we have mentioned earlier. So the first criteria is that around human rights, labor practices, environment, anti-corruption, even global goals. And also you're gonna have to mention something about the governance and leadership. And this is the self-assessment questionnaire. So when you'll be clicking on that GC Advanced, like I want to submit a GC Advanced COP, the template will be asking you all these different questions. And in this self-assessment questionnaire, remember what I said, like whenever you see this eye icon, consider that as one of the globally recognized best practice for this particular criteria. So let's say your organization right now is checking box on, let's say this one or the next one, but the best practice examples or the best practice kind of check boxes for this particular criteria are the one that you see this eye option. So always try to kind of, if you're aiming to do better in terms of those different criteria requirement, always try to kind of check box on those icons, because those are globally recognized as best practices. And if you have any other internal practices that you are very proud of and you think that can be recognized as a best practice, remember these COPs are public. People find inspiration from these documents. You can also publish this other established or emerging best practices, and you have the opportunity to highlight your organizational practice here, which could be very inspirational for any other organization. So this is a good option for you to highlight some of the leadership examples or best practicing examples. I think this option is applicable for most of the responses here. You don't have to limit yourself to the responses here only. You can always identify and highlight any of the internal best practices that your organization is very proud of. And we are always very eager to listen to those or knowing more about those. Also, the same applies to all those other 21 criteria. This will take a little bit, for obvious reason, this will take a little bit more time than for you to prepare than an active level COP, but this is going to communicate the commitment about your organization's commitment to those 10 principles more in a more informative way. And if this document can also be used as a very strong inspiration document to improve the different processes. And another good thing, while you are actually looking at this document, we just only ask you to fulfill the different questionnaire or fill out the different questionnaire. But then again, we also try to give you some resources that you can look into how exactly your organization can improve processes around human rights, labor, anti-corruption. And in Global Compact, we have plenty of those resources. So in this particular questionnaire, what we have tried is whatever is the most applicable resources for this particular section, we tried to highlight it in this in this particular area. And you can always click on those links and find more inspiration, like if there is any global guidance that you want to follow, any global policies that you would like to consider. So all those resources are there. So the strongest recommendation is that please review this assessment questionnaire. This is the highest level of your COP commitment to UN Global Compact. And even if you're not doing this, this is a very good inspiration document for you to consider. Okay, let's get back to the presentation. So okay, I think I have already explained this one. So let's say that was the questionnaire that I've showed you, but when you click on the submit a GC advanced COP, this is the page that you're going to see. And that's where it's going to mention you how exactly, or if you start following these different next tabs here, strategy, human rights, labor, environment, anti-corruption, it's going to guide you through all those different questions that you have already seen in that assessment form. And this is the note I already mentioned, like throughout a self-assessment, best practices marked with I indicate additional information is available for that item. So wherever we have good examples for those particular criteria, we have tried to include those. But then again, we are also looking forward to finding more different, like other examples as well when you're clicking on that other check boxes. Okay, so that's kind of a summary about how exactly you can approach your COPs by using either the basic COP, active COP, or advanced level COP. Even if you submit your basic COP, so it's always going to be recognized either as an active COP, advanced COP, or a learner COP. So when you submit a basic COP, let's say if you have clicked on all those three requirements, it's going to be automatically recognized as an active COP. But the basic COP will never recognize your COP as an advanced level. To submit an advanced level COP, you have to click on the advanced tab and let that particular, what do you call it, the platform guide you to submit that advanced level COP. And because there are a number of different questionnaires, we have already uploaded that different questions as a PDF document. So as soon as you click on that GC advanced tab, please also download this GC advanced criteria PDF so that you have a good understanding before you start filling out the questionnaire. Okay, this is another option when we talk about flexibility. So we understand that sometimes there could be some emergency that can pop up and your organization is not being able to submit the COP right on time. And when we say that, how does the deadline work in terms of submitting a COP? Let's say your organization has been accepted to UN Global Compact on June 10th, 2021. So next year on June 10th, 2022, your COP is due. So it's always 1 year since the acceptance to UN Global Compact, your COP is due. And let's say for any reason, your organization is not being able to submit your COP on June 10th, 2022, you have the option to submit a grace letter that, okay, I need 3 months more to submit a COP, and 90 days is the maximum time that we can offer you to submit your COP. And within that 90 days, you can submit your COP anytime. If you do not submit your COP within those 90 days, then your status with UN Global Compact will be non-communicating. And the consequences of having a non-communicating status, I have another slide for you. I'll be showing there. But an important part to remember for this grace letter submission is that you must submit your grace letter before the deadline. Let's say your deadline is June 10th, 2022. If you submit the grace letter on June 11th, unfortunately, we won't be able to give you that grace because that deadline has already been passed. So you have to submit your grace letter at least a day before your actual submission day. So you can submit it on June 9th, June 8th, or any other day. And that's how it's going to work. Another important part, let's say your annual reporting date is June 10th, 2020, June 10th of every year. But with using this grace letter, you have pushed your COP submission by another month or 40 days, and you have submitted your annual COP on July 20th. The way the deadline works, it's always 1 year from the date of submission. So next year, your COP will be due on July 20th, not on June 10th anymore. So it's always, this is how it's going to work. You have joined, let's say on April 3rd, your first COP is due by, you have submitted your COP on the 1st, but the deadline was 3rd. So next year, your COP will be again due by 1st. which is a little bit of reverse example. I was giving an example first of if you use the grace letter to submit your COP late, let's say in case of June, you're submitting in July. So next year, your COP is again going to be due on July 20th. But let's say this year you have decided, no, I don't want to wait until June 10th. I can submit my COP on June 1st or May 20th. You can always do that. But remember, as soon as you do that, your next COP will be due on May 20th or whatever day you submit, any day before the actual submission day. So it's always 1 year from the date of your submission of COP. That's we have seen some organizations do not understand that process very clearly, and we have seen that unfortunately their status becomes non-communicating. But that's what I want to clarify here, that grace letter gives you option for 3 months, but you always, if you understand when is my next COP due, you always need to look at the date when was the last COP submitted. It's always 1 year from there. Also, talking about flexibility again, there is another option. It's a one-time option that we provide to the organization. Let's say your organization has joined in May to UN Global Compact, but every year your sustainability report comes out in June or July. So there is no way that you can refer back to your sustainability report to communicate your communication on progress. So what do? So you can always adjust your reporting cycle with UN Global Compact, but that's just like a one-time request. So let's say every year you want to commit that I want to submit my COP on August 1st every year. So that will be changing your reporting cycle to August 1st every year. So you're no longer required to submit your COP on the joining date, but then your reporting cycle has now, based on your request, when it gets approved, your new COP submission date is going to be like the adjusted or whatever date you have requested. That's going to be your new date. However, again, let's say you have requested to submit the COP on August 8th, but then again, you're submitting your COP on July 30th. But in your mind, you know that you have already submitted a request to UN Global Compact. No, I have already requested that every year I want to submit in August 8th, but it's not going to work like that. It's always going to be 1 year from the date of submission. So if you want to maintain or if you don't want to complicate this process of what's the deadline, we recommend that you always fix this deadline on your calendar. Like, this is the date when my COP is due, and you submit the COP on the due date. In that way, you do not need to hassle about like changing this date every year, and it's going to be like a very smooth and efficient process for your organization. But then again, these flexibilities are there if you need to use it. Let's say for any good reason you have to submit your COP a bit early this year, you can always do that. But for next year, you need to keep in mind that it's going to be always 1 year from that when your COP is going to be due. I can see a question. Where in my profile can I view the date of my COP? So it's going to be like the date of joining. So if you look at if you go to your profile on the dashboard, it's going to say like a date of joining UN Global Compact. That's going to be your COP due date. And if you have already submitted a COP, check what was the date on that submitted COP. Like, when was the last time COP submitted? It's going to be 1 year from that date. So if you haven't submitted, your joining date is going to be your next COP due date. And if you have already submitted a COP, the next year is going to be COP plus 1 year. That's going to be your next deadline. Okay. The next one, I have already explained this one. And key tools for active advanced reporters. So let's say you want to excel, however, your organization is committed to UN Global Compact. If you click on this link, it will take you to this page where you'll be finding all these great resources, like making the connection, how you can use the GRI guidelines to create a COP, the sustainability reporting guidelines to prepare a COP. We have plenty of resources to help your organizations to make a very strong communication and progress, because remember, these are being seen by all the UN Global Compact members, globally, investors, stakeholders. Everyone is seeing your COP. So if you want to communicate strong sustainability commitment through your COP, we have the help here, support here. The more you want to use, the stronger I hope it's going to be. But the link is there in case you want to review or revisit the different resources. So this presentation will be shared with all the UN Global Compact participants in Canada. Even in case, let's say you are not being able to attend the sessions in live, you can always look at the presentation and see the different resources we are providing or sharing with you here. And we have a COP policy as well. And if you click on this link, you will be redirected to the COP policy that explains like what is your organization's commitment around the COP. And there are a number of different things like why your organization is required to submit a COP, how is that going to be evaluated, all those different information is mentioned there. But there one chapter that I wanted to particularly highlight in this presentation. It's about that learner grace period. So what is the policy around that? As I've mentioned, you will be giving a one-time 12-month learner grace period to submit a new COP that meets all requirements. So remember, you have to meet all three requirements: a letter from your CEO, commitment on all those four pillars, and measure outcomes. In case you're unable to fulfill any of those commitments, you have 1 year, the first year of your joining, and next year you have to submit, you have to check mark on all, otherwise your organization status is going to be non-communicating. During that time, through the learner platform, participants will receive support and assistance from Global Compact offices and local network. And this rules also applies to participants that are non-communicating at the time of their COP submission. So just what I have mentioned. You can see another question, Bob, or is that the first question? Okay, that's answered. The next one, the non-communicating status. So what happens when your organization becomes, or your organization status becomes non-communicating? So business participant will be designated as non-communicating on Global Compact website if it fails to submit a COP within the required deadline. So as I've mentioned, if your deadline is June 10th, but for some reason your organization is unable to submit the COP by that time, your organizational status will become non-communicating. To avoid that, please do submit your COP before the deadline. Let me check the chat here quickly. If you can post your questions all in the questions tab rather than putting the chat, it will be easier for me to go through the questions. But I can see one chat question here. Let's see. Where can we find all communication and progress on the UNGC website? Good questions. If you visit this link here, create and submit, we have plenty of examples for you that you will be finding on this link to find inspiration from other COPs. And you can always, let's say you're particularly interested in any of the companies that you know is already part of UN Global Compact, and you want to know how exactly they're submitting their COP. As I've mentioned, all companies who have an active status with UN Global Compact, they must submit their COP on time. So if you go to their profile, let's say it's going to be company ABC, and in Google you type company ABC UN Global Compact, it's going to take you to that company's profile. And in that profile, you will be finding all of their COPs that have been submitted either early or from the beginning of UN Global Compact in 2000. So all the COPs that they have submitted to date, you should be able to find all of those under their profile. And this link also provides you some good examples. Okay, going back to the previous question, previous section. If it fails to submit a COP within the required deadline, if a participant fails to submit COP, that means all minimum requirement. So it's going to be, again, non-communicating. So it's going to be waived for you only on the first year, but from second year, it's going to be a non-communicating status. A business participant that has already benefited from the learning grace period will become non-communicating if it fails again to submit a COP that meets all three minimum requirements. And when do you get expulsion from Global Compact? When does that happen? So if a non-communicating participant fails to submit a COP that meets all the requirements within a year of becoming non-communicating. So if you fail to submit your COP back-to-back for 2 years, you will be delisted from UN Global Compact. And that's going to be highlighted on your profile that this company has been delisted from UN Global Compact for this reason. Delisted can happen for various reasons. Sometimes a merger can happen, acquisition can happen. So the reason is always mentioned there. But if it's due to fail of non-communicating or fail of lack of communication, that's going to be mentioned as a delisting reason on your public profile. And all organizations that have been expelled must reapply if they wish to rejoin the initiative. So once that happens, let's say for any reason your organization has failed to submit a COP on time for back-to-back 2 years, and you have been having a non-communicating status for 2 years, you will be delisted from UN Global Compact. And if your organization wants to rejoin the initiative, you have to reapply and go through the same process again. Okay, let me go to this section after attending the question here. What are the guidelines around using the SDGs logo in your communication progress and systematic report? Good question. That's the next section. So we have a logo request option on your profile as well. So when you log into your profile, you're going to see that overview, getting started, contacts, COPs, draft COPs, action platforms. This logo request is particularly for using the UN Global Compact logo. Let's say you have committed to UN Global Compact and you want to use the endorser logo on your sustainability report. To do that, you have to submit that logo request to UN Global Compact and give them sufficient time to review your request and get back to you on time so that you can publish your report on due time. So if you want to use the SDGs logo, you can follow the same process. Although for SDGs, UN Global Compact do not there is a brand guideline that you need to follow. As long as you're following the brand guideline with the SDGs, you don't need to ask for specific permission. But if you want to use the UN Global Compact endorser logo, you must submit a logo request. For the SDGs, as long as you are fulfilling the brand guidelines, your organization should be good to use the logo. If only there is any violation of the brand guidelines, only then your organization will be contacted that, okay, there has been a brand violation of the brand guideline. And you should be able to find all that information here, the link provided, like what are the different brand guidelines. And I cannot actually remember, I'm sorry about that, but I'm not too sure if in this brand guideline we have information about the SDGs, but I'm pretty sure you will find all the information about using the UN Global Compact logo in this brand guideline. But whoever has posted the question here, I'll be sharing the SDG logo use policy as well with you, so that in case it's not included in this document. So I'll certainly get back to you. Yes. Okay. However, as I've mentioned, so if you want to use the endorser logo, you have to submit a request to UN Global Compact. Like this is the section in my sustainability report where I'm going to highlight the UN Global Compact endorser logo, and UN Global Compact will be reviewing that information and will be communicating with you through the hub that, okay, the logo request has been accepted or declined for whatever reason. So that permission must be acquired before using the UN Global Compact endorser logo. However, let's say if you're just creating a standalone COP document, you don't have any intention to use the endorser logo, there is another logo that you can just straightforward download from that website, from this link. From this link. And if you go to that link, you will see this image here, communication on progress. You can just download this image and you can put it on your standalone COP document. If you do not want to go through that process of using an endorser logo, this is a logo that is publicly available, and you can use this to communicate your progress on the COP. So this is only associated with your COP communication. So let's say your organization does not have any standalone sustainability report, and you just want to create a COP report and you want to highlight this logo there. This is the logo you can use. And for this one, you do not need to ask for UN Global Compact's permission. This is available on the website. Just download it and publish it on your report. Okay, I think this is everything I wanted to share in this presentation today. So far, I have responded to the 3 questions that have been posted on Q&A, but if there are more questions, I'd be very happy to respond to those. If you'd like, let me see if I can actually unmute you if you'd like to discuss anything or like to ask a question live here. If you can raise your hand, if you want to ask any question, I can allow you to talk and we can quickly answer that question if you have any. So I'm not seeing any hands. No further questions are also coming on the portal here. So I think if I do not see any more questions in the next 2 minutes, maybe we can conclude the session 10 minutes early today and give you some time back. But thank you so much again for joining today's session. And hopefully this session was a little bit helpful for you to approach or start preparing your COP and submit a strong COP to communicate your organization's commitment to sustainability. If there is any other questions related to COP, please feel free to send us an email and we'll try to get back to you as soon as possible. I can see just one other question popped up right now. Can you use the COP UN Global Compact logo in your system report, the one that doesn't need permission, or is it only available for a standalone COP? Yes, if the language of that logo fulfills the requirement of your logo use, please, you can always use that logo for any purpose. But the way that language and the logo has been communicated is that it particularly specifies about a COP, But if you think that you can use it for any other way, you can certainly do that. It's only for the UNGC endorsed logo you need to ask for specific permission, but for your system report, you can always use the publicly available image. But please read the associated language with that logo, whatever is written here. I can show you here quickly. So this is our communication on progress in implementing the 10 principles of the United Nations Global Compact and the supporting. So let's say if you have a specific chapter on your sustainability report where you're highlighting the communication on progress with the UN Global Compact and principles, that's a very good area to highlight this logo. Or let's say this, so that's why I was saying like this language is more applicable when you're creating a standalone COP document. But if there is any other innovative way that you can find out to use this logo in your sustainability report, you can certainly do that. Hope that answered the question. Any other question from anyone? Okay, so no further questions coming in, so that we can probably conclude the session here today. Thank you again so much for joining the session today. And again, if you have any other questions or any other queries about COPs or your participation with UN Global Compact, please do not hesitate to reach out to us. We will always get back to you as soon as possible. Thanks again. Have a wonderful rest of the day. Take care.